This week on Jerusalem Dateline, Israel heads to the polls again in a first ever back-to-back election after Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu fails to form a government. What does it mean? And we'll be joined by CBN's Scott Ross for a special show looking at some of his most important stories from the Holy Land. Hello and welcome to this special edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell, joined this week by CBN's Scott Ross, and we're here overlooking Tel Aviv, here in Old City of Jaffa. First, we want to take a look at some of the big news happening here in Israel and a real political upset in Israel's government. For the first time in its history, Israel is going back to the polls for a second consecutive time after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu failed to form a coalition government. Just minutes before the midnight deadline to form a coalition, Israel's parliament, the Knesset, voted to dissolve itself and send Israelis back to the polls in September. The vote meant Israeli President Reuven Rivlin could not choose another party to try and form a new government. After 42 days of negotiations, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu couldn't bridge the divide between two of his potential coalition parties, Avigdor Lieberman on the one hand and the ultra-Orthodox parties on the other. The main contention between the two was a law requiring a percentage of ultra-Orthodox men to serve in Israel's military. The ultra-Orthodox parties objected to that law, and Lieberman would not serve in Netanyahu's coalition if the law wasn't passed. It's one more sign of a growing divide between the secular and religious within Israeli society. In the meantime, after just finishing one campaign, Israel's political parties will begin campaigning once again. While Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu remains the frontrunner, he faces challenges from retired General Benny Gantz's Blue and White Party and other opposition parties. Yet it also gives some politicians, like Education Minister Naftali Bennett, one more shot at re-election. Netanyahu vowed he'll win the next election, but in addition to his political challenges, he will face 3 separate criminal charges 1 month after the next election. The new elections also mean the unveiling of President Trump's peace plan will likely be put on hold for several more months. Well, Scott, it's great to have you here this week. Welcome back to Israel.
Oh, yes, I know. My favorite place in the whole world.
I know it is.
My favorite trips right here, all the time.
And we're here in a beautiful location, looking at Tel Aviv. It's in the Mediterranean, a beautiful site. You know, we've been on the northern border and the southern border, and here we're right in the middle of the country.
As you move around this country, it's always so amazing to me to see how well people literally do get along. Jew, Arab, Muslim, Christian, etc.
The reason we're here in Tel Aviv is we did a story, an interview with the first Christian Arab ambassador representing the state of Israel, and he really epitomizes what you're saying. They really can live together. One of the stories you've done in the past about a man named Jabari who has a head of a large clan in Hebron, and he's actually going to be part of what's coming up next, perhaps later this year, the President Trump's Middle East peace plan. He's going to be part of that.
This is an Arab and a Jew, and a leader, a city leader, and they embrace one another physically, and they're friends. They share meals together.
That's right.
They talk over all sorts of issues, and there's no conflict. It's just, I love it. I love it.
And the story Scott talking about is when we went to Hebron, talked to a man named Jabari, who is a very close friend with a Jewish man, and how they both say that peace is possible.
Hebron is often known as one of the most volatile cities in the West Bank. But here in what's also the most prosperous Palestinian Arab city, a different kind of peace between Israelis and Palestinians is discussed on both sides. Jabri and Arnon have been friends for 30 years. After our initial exchange, Jabri preferred to speak mostly in Hebrew. You two are friends. You're an Arab and he is a Jew.
Yes.
Why are you friends?
He's our neighbor.
Neighbors.
Yes.
And you get along together.
Yes.
So it is possible for Jews and Arabs to live together in friendship without any conflict.
Yes, without any doubt. 30 years ago, we were working together, doing business together.
Why don't more Jews and Arabs live as you live with your friend?
Because of the politicians.
More than 25 years ago, Israel opened the door for Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or PLO, from Tunis by recognizing them as the sole representative of the Palestinian people in negotiations. Arafat and then Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin signed the Oslo Accords on the White House lawn in 1993, creating the Palestinian Authority out of the PLO to govern the Palestinians. The aim? To end the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and eventually establish a Palestinian state in biblical Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. Jabri says it hasn't worked.
The PLO signed the Oslo agreements 25 years ago. Until today, we didn't reach peace. It's the opposite. We started with a very big problem.
In the Oslo Accord, the Israeli government had brought the PLO to control the local population. And they said, you bring those people, the corrupted and the terrorists, to control us. Why? I feel ashamed about that. We disappointed them, we betrayed them.
What did the PLO think of you?
I don't care what the PLO thinks about me. What's important for me is how we can all live together in this area, in the state of Israel. If we follow their way, we won't have peace even in the next 50 years.
And he says there has to be another way.
How will we live together under the government of Israel? In the end, this is the only solution.
Do you feel the Israelis are fair and they're just?
Basically, yes. But there's a huge pressure on the Israeli government. Before the Oslo Accords, the whole country was free, without checkpoints, without anything.
So the Oslo Accord was not a good accord?
No one from the two peoples received anything.
Have you been able to influence other Arabs and other leaders to your way of thinking?
Yes, of course. 90% of the Palestinian people are looking for their own future.
Even though Jabri says the masses want to change, saying so would get them in trouble with the Palestinian Authority. Have your enemies threatened you?
We're not afraid of anyone. We speak from our hearts. We speak the truth.
Do you have hope for the future, for peace in the land?
Of course, there's hope, but we have to continue in the way of real peace from both sides. The problem between us is a political problem.
Jabri, who is a businessman, and other Palestinian and Israeli businessmen have ideas about how to make person-to-person relations work, and they want the world to help.
Coming up, a look at Rocketown, the southern Israeli city of Sderot, still under fire all these years later.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
CBN Israel, standing with Israel and blessing God's people. Join us. Get breaking news from the Holy Land. Witness biblical history uncovered. Learn the true story of Israel through groundbreaking films. Help Holocaust survivors and other Israelis in need. Be part of the redemptive story God is telling through His chosen people. CBN Israel. Together we will stand. Join CBN Israel today.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Scott, one of the stories we did this week, we were down on the southern border. We got a whole tour of what's called a Gaza Reality Border Tour. But one of the favorite stories you did, I think it was your first, was when we went to Sderot, and you saw what it was like for the people living there.
Absolutely amazing. How far is Sderot from the border?
Just a couple of miles.
You can say that, couple of miles. Like if
Yeah.
you're in the United States, you drive a couple of miles. These people in Sderot live under the constant barrage of rocket fire.
Right.
And the reality was we were on a playground, and little kids are running around, and I said, okay, well, if a rocket came over now, what would happen? He said they'd have anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds to get to a bomb shelter.
That's right.
That's I couldn't conceive of that
Yeah,
until I was there.
Well, Scott, that was a number of years ago, and things haven't changed very much. Let's take a look at Scott in Sderot.
They call it Rocket Town, the bomb shelter capital of the world. For more than a decade, Israelis in Sderot and southern Israel have lived under almost daily rocket attacks from the Gaza Strip. You have people getting killed here in your town?
We had over 44 people been killed overall by rocket fire. Over 1,200 been seriously injured. At the same time, you have an entire generation that grew up with this kind of reality of sirens going off.
David Buskila was born and raised in Sderot and has been the city's mayor for 14 years. The mayor took me to a hill on the edge of town where we could see just how close the Gaza Strip is.
This is the border. It's 840 meters. The meaning is something like half a mile.
They could fire rockets at these towers and knock them down, and
They launch rockets to the electric power station.
yes. You supply Gaza.
We gave them electric, and they launch rockets to block the electric power station. And then to complain that they have darkness in Gaza. You see, this is not normal.
Everyone who drives in Sderot turns off the radio and rolls the windows down, ready to hear the color red siren to make a mad dash for safety. And here I am in a playground where kids come and play. Here's a caterpillar, and anywhere else in the world this would be a normal caterpillar. However, this is a bit different. This is in fact a bomb shelter. So when kids come out here to play, a siren goes off. They have 15 seconds to get inside here to be protected from falling bombs. Nothing moved me more than meeting Geut Aragon. In January 2008, she was sitting in her home with her 4-year-old son Nir and a neighbor child on her lap. A rocket crashed through the room where they were sitting.
The bomb come through the wall into the room. All the roof was crushed on us from the, how you say it?
Explosion.
Yeah, the explosion. The girl was, fly to the corner. There was 4 shrapnels in my head.
Yeah.
And they operated and they took out 3 of them, but one of them, it get deep into the brain, so they don't want to touch it.
Geut was in rehab for a year and a half, but that wasn't the end of her troubles. Nearly 5 years later, her son is still afraid to sleep in his room. The family has to run to the bomb shelter sometimes 3 times a night. So why does she stay?
It's my country, it's my city. I'm born here.
Right.
I love it. If you want to move, you need to sell the house. No one wants to buy a house in Sderot. No one wants to come from outside to live under bombing, But I have to tell you, even that, we very love this city.
Do you believe that God protected you?
Yeah.
You do believe
I
that?
believe that, yeah.
You're not angry?
Totally.
You're not angry with God because He allowed it to happen?
No. I think now, and I thought back then, that it was a miracle, and he protected on me, and he leaves me here in this world living for my boys, because And I thank him every morning. I never was that believer, you know?
No?
But since day, I believe more in God.
Up next, Israel's economic and high-tech center also fulfills biblical prophecy.
A historic bond between the Jewish people and the land of Israel cannot be broken.
Now on Blu-ray or DVD, the new CBN documentary special, The Hope, The Rebirth of Israel.
History is knocking on the door. Things are changing.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/Israel The Hope to receive your copy of the CBN documentary special, The Hope, The Rebirth of Israel, for a gift of $10 or more. Now on Blu-ray or DVD.
Once he declares the state of Israel, they're all going to come after us.
Go on an extraordinary journey as Gordon Robertson explores the founding of Israel and meet the heroes who made history.
The United States recognizes the new state of Israel.
The Hope, The Rebirth of Israel can be yours on Blu-ray or DVD for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com/Israel The Hope. Call now.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Well, Scott, we're here standing over an amazing city. 100 years ago, a little more than 100 years ago, that was a sand dune.
And this is amazing. Constructions are going on here now as we speak, and this is one of the most technologically advanced cities in the world.
That's right.
Period.
Exactly.
The things that are coming out of here are just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And as you said, this was a sand dune.
Yeah.
And we were talking to people in the street. The contrast between this city and Jerusalem is almost, well, it's over 100 years apart.
But you can also see prophecy unfolding here in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And here's the story Scott did about what this behind us is really fulfilling the words of the ancient prophets.
Situated on the shores of the Mediterranean, Tel Aviv could be described as Israel's New York City. And in just over 100 years, it's become one of the world's leading startup cities.
Tel Aviv was established in 1909. It is a very young city.
It is.
All this was sand here in 1909.
What was the vision for it?
And the vision was to establish here a modern Jewish city that speaks the Hebrew language, a foundation for a Jewish life. The idea was to realize the dreams, the hopes, the prophecies of our prophets and the dreams of the Jews all over the world. The most amazing thing about the Jewish people is the fact that we keep dreaming the same dream wherever we are through the centuries. Next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem.
Isaac Dror is the education manager of Independence Hall, the location where David Ben-Gurion declared Israel's statehood and its founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence. We're seated here in front of Independence Hall. This is a significant place.
It is significant. It is really significant. It is the place where Israel was born, but it is also the place where Tel Aviv was established. It was the home of the founder of Tel Aviv. It was the first art museum of the city. In the book of Ezekiel, Ezekiel lived in a place called Tel Aviv, a Jewish city in Babylon, where he was prophet. A tiny Jewish community in the desert of Iraq, exiled Jews.
In 1950, Tel Aviv and Jaffa merged to form Tel Aviv-Yaffo. It's also where Jonah caught a ship to flee from the Lord and ended up in the belly of a whale. Israel's founders sensed they were fulfilling prophecy, In the middle of this secular city, surrounded by construction cranes, one monument says it all.
This is from the Bible, Jeremiah, and it says here, I shall rebuild you, and you will be built, O Virgin of Israel. This is the motto of those who established Tel Aviv.
And as we stand here now, the prophecy is being fulfilled in front of your eyes.
In front of your eyes. It is the first time after 2,000 years, the Jewish people building the Jewish land, speaking Hebrew with their Bible in their hands, in the land of Israel.
Today, Tel Aviv is known as Silicon Wadi.
There's more than 700 startup companies concentrated in this city. There's venture capital that is being invested in Israel, which is the highest per capita in the world. Combined, of course, with Israel's culture and with Israel's circumstances, have made Tel Aviv what it is today, the second Silicon Valley of the world.
I met with educator Ze'ev Ben-Shahar. I asked Ben-Shahar about the future of Tel Aviv.
It is going to explode. The amount of high-tech companies, the amount of innovations that are developed here that are crucial to making the world a better place are going to come out of Tel Aviv. And more research and more funding is going to come into this city and hopefully create a better future, not just for Jews, but for Christians, Muslims, Buddhists around the world.
Still ahead, shopping in the Jerusalem open-air market where prophecy is being fulfilled.
Prophecy thousands of years old,
We were called to be a light to the world.
being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
by sharing their knowledge
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
and their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to cbn.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Well, Scott, one of the favorite stories I think that I've seen you do here is in the open-air market of Jerusalem called Mahane Yehuda with our friend, our tour guide, Hannah Ben Haim, also with Nedra. That was quite fun.
Nedra being my wife.
That's right, Nedra being your wife.
That is a most amazing experience. If they come to Jerusalem, if you want to shop, that's the place to go.
That's the place to go. And a place you can see prophecy come alive. Take a look.
Mahane Yehuda, the camp of Judah, known as the Shuk in Hebrew. It's Jerusalem's most famous market, and like so many other places in the city, there's nothing ordinary about it. Here we are in the city of Jerusalem.
Absolutely.
We're about to cross a very well-known, historically known, Jaffa Road. About a mile and a half down the road is the old city's Jaffa Gate. In the late 1800s, a few brave Jews established homes here, a long way from the protection of the city walls.
Today you would never even imagine such a thing, but when they moved out of the old city, they were moving to these secured kind of neighborhoods. And that's why the name of the market is called Machane Yehuda. It's named after that neighborhood that was built in 1887.
Jaffa Road connects Jerusalem to the Mediterranean seaport at Jaffa, considered by some the oldest harbor in the world.
Who would have been on this road in the recent history? Someone like General Allenby, when he came and conquered this from the Ottomans, 1917. Theodore Herzl came down this road. But when we think really old, really ancient, do you realize that the cedars from Lebanon that were imported by David and then Solomon, they had to come from Jaffa into Jerusalem. Now, we don't know exactly the route they took, but this was the main artery.
My wife Nedra and I joined Hannah Ben Haim on a walk through the Shuk on a busy Friday as shoppers prepared for the Sabbath.
It's Shabbat, and we have to buy challah. Challah is the braided Shabbat bread, and it comes in several different styles. Let's go find some olives.
One spicy olive.
That's good and spicy.
Of course, the olive is part of the symbol of Israel.
Yeah.
We have the menorah with the two abbreviated branches from Zechariah 4. Not by might, not by power. But aren't these delicious?
They're good.
Dozens of countries and cultures are represented in the Shuk, brought here by Jews returning to the land from more than 100 countries. An Iranian Jew started a spice shop in Jerusalem in 1953 and later moved here to the Shuk. Today his grandsons still run the shop. An estimated 200,000 people visit the Shuk each week. Rich and poor, young and old, religious and secular, as well as Jews and Arabs shop in the market. But it's had its share of tragedy too. July 30, 1997. Suicide bombers killed 16 people here and wounded almost 200. Terror attacks in the market virtually destroyed business, so the municipality reinvented the Shuk to make it one of the trendiest places in the city.
How are we going to encourage people to come back here? So the new floors and the new ceilings, and even though it doesn't look very brand new to you, and also the openness to so many different other kinds of shops and restaurants, bistros, even nightlife is here.
We ate at the Zura restaurant, started by the owner's father in 1952, with traditional Turkish and Iraqi food. It's so amazing, the abundance of food that's here. I mean, the tomatoes are like that, and the variety of food. One religious Jew summed up the Shuk for us. He said, if you want to talk to God, go to the Western Wall. But if you want to see God at work, go to the Shuk. And that's exactly what we saw.
Well, Scott, it's been great having you this week here in Israel. And love the stories we shot this week. Love the stories you've done. Please come back.
The most significant piece of property anywhere on planet Earth, because Jesus Christ is coming back here, and maybe we'll cover it.
Oh, maybe we will cover it. That would be the story.
That would be it.
All right, thanks, Scott. Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
So I'm Chris Mitchell with Scott Ross, and we'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.